Hi, everybody. I'm going to start just a couple minutes early, if that's all right. I hope it is. My name is Matthias Shapiro, and this is Effective Information Visualization with Silverlight. There's my Twitter handle, so you can tweet me nasty things, and my email, so you can email me nasty things. Okay, if you have no patience whatsoever, all these slides are up on blogs.forsecsolutions.com, which is my work blog, and designersilverlight.com, which is my play blog. If you want to talk to more Veresi people, they're over here in the corner. Oh, I should use this is awesome. Okay, so you can get to the other sessions that you want to go to. This is what we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about how to get data out of any API. That includes Twitter. We're not going to talk about any type of charting. We're not going to talk about anything WCF, even though I'm using a WCF service to send data somewhere. We're not talking about JSON and XML, but we are going to be talking about, we're going to give an overview of information visualization. What is it? Why do we like it? I'm going to run a demo parsing a CSV file into Silverlight project so we can get some data into our visualizations. We're going to create some animations to make our visualizations awesome, and then we're going to talk a little bit about design considerations for information visualization. So why do we like information visualization? Well, because we live in a world where we're just completely overwhelmed with all this data about every part of our lives, other people's lives, the places we live. And we have a lot of time trying to understand this data in any sort of reasonable way. To give an example, well, I guess we can look at this first. We basically get all of the data in CSV and XML and Excel and Access and grids and grids and grids and grids, and all of our views of data look basically like this. And so we want to do something with that and make it visible. As a great example, look at the stimulus for 2009 is basically, if you look through the law, it's, okay, we're going to take a big pile of money and we're going to put it on this project. And if you could look at the whole thing in one view, and it looks like this, and if you wanted to say something like, well, how much are we spending on highways and roads? It's right there, but it doesn't really mean anything. If we want it to mean something, we have to visualize it. And this is what someone at the IBM Many Eyes project did. They visualized it, and it's up there in the corner. But more importantly, this gives us an idea of, oh, okay, well, this is what that particular piece of data means in the context of a larger stimulus, and oh, we've got it chunked out into different parts, energy and tax cuts and all this kind of thing. So we can actually see the data in a context that makes it meaningful, as opposed to just saying a number. By the way, this is called a tree map visualization. I'm going to try to use as much terminology as I can because I've always found that helpful. I look for stuff and I have no idea what it's called. So, okay. We're going to do I'm going to show you 5 ways to display information visually. This is a broad technology agnostic overview of information visualization, and we're going to do it in 3 minutes because I want to get into the code. And so this is crazy. Ready, set, go. First way to display information is size. You take a small number and we represent it with a small thing, a bigger number with a bigger thing. This is a word cloud which does just that. Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, where the words that show up more often are larger. Second way we can visualize information is using color. Color is great for enormous data sets because you can recognize shapes and you can see gradations in color. Be careful for colorblind people, though. They kind of get the short end of the stick on this one. This is an example of a color visualization of the market. I picked a bad day because in addition to seeing, you can see overall it was a bad day, you can say, oh, look, healthcare didn't do so bad. And we can pick out very quickly some of the outliers to the overall downward trend. Location visualization, if you've ever gone to a movie theater and picked a seat, or if you've ever picked a seat on an airplane, you've used a location visualization. It basically takes some real world place and maps it, and then shows you the data laid out on that map. This is a location visualization of all the flight patterns in the United States in a single day. We can see population density in the east, lots more flights out there. We can see hubs, Denver, Vegas, and along the coast. Network visualizations basically take different nodes and binary information and ask whether or not these nodes are connected in some way, shape, or form. I'd be careful with network visualizations. This is called a network graph. Be careful with that because when you have really huge data sets, thousands of pieces of data, it looks like a big soup. This is visualization of my Facebook friends, and it actually corresponds pretty well to different parts of my life, college and camp and work and that kind of thing. The last one is time visualization. If you've ever seen anything along a timeline, this is very, very common. As we have more visualizations that use animations, they'll basically take big chunks of time and compress them into little ones so that we can see movement over time. This is a really simple time visualization, something you're probably all familiar with. Simple graph, just how many people named their child Matthew over the last 130 years. And big spike in the 60s, 70s. Okay. So that actually wasn't as bad, and I feel pretty relaxed here. One of the things you can do, and you probably noticed, was that a lot of these visualizations took multiple ways of visualizing the data and put them together. You take size and color, or you took color and location. You can do that. As a general rule, I try to take 1, 2, and at the most 3 types of visualizations and kind of mush them together. If you do more than that, then it becomes information soup. And what we're trying to do is make the information clearer to people. And if there's too much soup, there's too many variables, people it becomes too much. It becomes overwhelming. This is actually, I did not have time to include anything on Pivot, and I know everybody's angry at me for that. But that's to me, what's so amazing about Pivot is it takes like 40 variables, and then it says, well, we're only going to look at 2 or 3 at a time, but if you're interested in the other ones, you can just take a look and group them. And anyway, that's not part of the presentation. I want to make a little bit of a terminology distinction between infographics and interactive visualization. And this is partly to let designers know that visualizations are not just for programmers, not just for people with code. If you can make a lot of really cool stuff with a static infographic, and you can do a lot of really neat things. Now, I would say information visualization or interactive visualization is better if you've got a really rich, deep data set and you want people to kind of go in and kind of tease out the data for themselves. It can be a really fantastic learning experience. I'm going to skip over this because I don't have time. Okay, if you want to know if you want to do an infographic or an interactive visualization, the real question is, who are your users? I'm a UX guy, so I'm asking this question all the time, but the simple fact of the matter is that an infographic is almost immediately available to every single person. They can look at it and they can see something, and unless it's really complex, they can say, oh, I understand what you're trying to tell me. Interactive visualization, you're cutting a lot of people off. Now, we may be willing to do that in order to help people understand a rich data set better, but just to keep that consideration in mind. So let's go to our first sample visualization. There we go. Okay, and just before I start this one, this is a visualization of unemployment over the last 30 years. We're talking 40,000 data points, and the way it works is that the size of the circle represents how many people are unemployed, and the color of the circle represents the unemployment rate. So you'll be able to see California will kind of always have a big circle, but that's because it's a huge state. So let's go ahead and run this and see 30 years of economic data in 1 minute. So it's the late 70s, and things are actually getting a little bit better from the last recession that we've just had. And then we kind of dig into the 80s, and things come, and they get really bad during that recession. They kind of get a little bit better, but you'll kind of notice that in the Midwest, it just kind of lingers around a little bit. It's interesting because if you actually watch recession data, you can really see, and we could add that data here to kind of give it a bit of a, I'm looking for a word, not finding it. But employment is always kind of a lagging indicator. This is the stock market and tech bubble, so we got a lot of green across it, and then it kind of pops, and we get less green. And just watch Louisiana for a second, and you'll see Katrina. I think it's very, very cool. It just kind of, boom, there it is. All right, and there it goes. One of the things we can do with this is, because this is just a slider that we're animating automatically. Yeah, that was kind of a bummer. Because this is a slider that we're animating, we can just go back and we can slide through the data. If we're interested in one particular state, we can hover over it and play the animation and just watch the data change in real time. And as a design consideration, I've taken New England and kind of stuck it off to the side because I get really sick of just little boxes. It's like, well, Maine, Maryland, Delaware, Rhode Island, they're all here off to the side, and I just don't like that. I want to see my New England. Come on. So I'm gonna walk through how we would get this data into a visualization or into a project, and then we're gonna visualize some of it here. Okay. So the first thing we do is we want to grab our data. So let's just go ahead and find our CSV data. And we'll do Nevada, because that's where we are. And what I've done here is, instead of trying to serve myself the data with some sort of web service or anything, I'm actually just pulling it straight into the application. That way I can run it online, and it doesn't make my head explode when I don't have, if I come up here and talk to you and I don't have anything. We want to build action resource. That'll just package it up in the Zap and send it away with us. And we're going to build a model so that we can look at the data. We're going to call our model, oh, that is not what I want. Add class, okay. We're going to call our model jobs data. And what it's going to be is just a model for each little piece of information that's in our Nevada CSV. So, if you've ever seen comma-separated values, it's basically a carriage, or not a carriage return, but a new line for a new piece of value. And then we were looking at year. They call months periods for some reason. Labor force, employment, unemployment, and unemployment rate. And so we're gonna kind of duplicate that in our model. We're going to add state name because we're going to want to be able to differentiate between the different states that we have in our data. So, and then now we're going to create a data helper that's going to pull all of the information from our CSV and dump it into a list of data, of job data that we can deal with. Now, yep. Okay, so we start with a bunch of Alt-Shift-F10s to get all of our dependencies, make them happy. Okay, so we create a list of jobs data, and we create a resource string that will dump into the URI. And we'll make this. I'll make this code available in the coming days. And we create a stream resource info, stream reader, and then we get all of our data into a single string. And then we're gonna want to parse that data. So here's our data parser. We just grab the data in. We change it, split it by new lines. We skip the first line, which is why we start from 1 instead of starting from 0, because that's just header information. And then I've been having a really big problem with carriage returns. So we also skip over anything that's carriage return. Then we come into, and for every single line, we just go in, grab our lines, separate them by commas, and dump them into our data model, add it to the list that we have. And then we can call our data helper and get all of that data into our visualization. So let's do that. All right. And comment some stuff. Okay. So we've got our state data. We call our helper. It does this great thing. We want to create a color helper. This is a custom piece of code that, again, is going to be available. It basically takes, this is the low end of the color scale. We're specifying that value to be 2. We're specifying the max value to be 10. So we're going to give this a value, and it's going to give us a color back based on where our custom value falls along there, and along a minimum, medium, and maximum color line. This way, we can kind of just create a custom color scale, hand it a value, and just yank some data back, or yank a color back that is appropriate for that value. we've got a base population, base size. What this is basically we're saying, okay, we're going to say that arbitrarily 1 million people is going to be represented with an 800 pixel wide, wide and tall circle, and it's just a place against which we can judge how we're going to scale everything else that we do. And so now all we have to do is bind to our data, right? Wrong. We're not binding to our data, because one of the things that we're going to do is, instead of binding to the data, we're going to have the data, set up the data, create an animation, and then bind the animation and run that. And the reason we do this is A, because it looks pretty, but B, because when people are looking at data, there's some part of us that kind of understands that data is collected at a time. And in between, for example, April and March, there was movement. And having an animation kind of is a head nod to that and says, yeah, we know that this data doesn't just, data point 1, data point 2. We're creating a flow that is going to feel really good for our users. So we'll go ahead, and I'm using a button for a very specific reason. It's because if I want to do additional visualizations, let me go back here. You see when we hover over, we get the additional information. We're going to want that, and the easiest way for me to get that is to just use a button, because it's got all the stuff in the template that I'm going to need to kind of make that happen. So we'll create our button. We will hand it an animation. I'm just now realizing that state change is like a terrible name because of states in my template, but it's too late now. Ha. Okay, so we're just going to be, wow, there it is. So we're just going to hand it any old number, because we're not really going to use this the values that we put in this animation, but we're using Blend to create the animation code for us. The only thing we need to remember is that, okay. The only thing we need to remember is that we need to add some names to this thing. Save, close. Okay. And that's so that we can call these animations and say, hey, animation, go to this value. I would tell a joke, but I'm so bad at multitasking. Okay, so that's all set and happy. We'll go back to Visual Studio, yes, and we will assign a new value to our button. Okay, right, because you're not that smart yet. There we go. Okay, so I wanted to take just a moment to talk about about finding the value that we're going to assign. You might think that, okay, if we have 100,000 people who are unemployed and we're using a 100-pixel circle, then if we have a 100-pixel tall circle, if we have 200,000 people, we're going to use a 200-pixel tall circle. That is not right, because when we're using circles, we're using area instead of kind of a linear height. I have a slide on this, and I actually walked through the math very, very step by step. So if you download the slides, you look at it later, you can see that very clearly. But suffice to say, for now, this is just the equation that we use. We have to use a square root and square things, and yeah, so on and so forth. It's there. You can see it. And then we dump we give the button the button content, the actual object. That way we can go in there and we can bind to stuff. That's where we're going to want to bind, is in the button content. Let's go ahead and do that really quick. And let's go ahead and change this so it's not just a button. Oh my goodness, it needs some styling. Okay, we're going to get rid of everything, but keep our content presenter. And we'll just throw an ellipse in there. Give it a color that we like. Something spiffy. And put the content presenter on top of that in case we want to use it for something. Oh, wait. I'm doing my other presentation already. I'm crazy. Sorry. We're going to template bind, because if we don't template bind, it's not going to change color. That makes sense. And for reasons that I don't understand at the moment, my button... Anybody got an idea why this button's getting cut off? Huh. Well, we'll give it a shot. Okay. Right. Do it again. Okay, and now it should be that as we move this, it grows and shrinks, and the colors animate, and it's a nice, smooth experience. So, so I have a question. Does anybody want to see the binding on this, or would you rather have questions at the end? Because we are going to come real close to time. You can yell. I can hear. Binding. All right. Okay. Let's do it. So we'll add additional templates. Go to the content template and create an empty one. All right. We're going to get rid of the grid or change it to a stack panel. And we're gonna dump some text in there for now. Dump. We're going to go to our text and say binding state name, and I will refer back to my model because we're just dumping it. Come on, we're basically just dumping it our jobs data. So we can bind to anything here. I'm going to bind to unemployment and unemployment rate because that's what we're doing in the other one. But it would be a very, very simple matter to bind to the other elements. So let's employment and unemployment rate. Save. And let's just do one other happy thing here. We'll go to estates and we'll have all of that animate in on a mouse over because we can do it. I think I got that right. It's hard to see. Okay. Okay, now we'll try running it again. Oh, or we'll try stopping our last process and then running it again. And we get the same thing we had before, except now we have our data that fades in. And you can use data converters, a converter in order to change the data, change string around. I think Silverlight 4 has string.format built in now. I'm getting some nods. Okay. So that'll make that even easier. So, okay, back to the slides for just a second. Area radius, yeah. I really wanted to get this point across. Can you tell? Okay. Animations. To me, animations are the soul of interactive visualization, and we should be animating everything that we can: the height, the width, the position, the color, opacity. If you can show it, you can animate it, and we should be doing that as much as possible. We're going to go to the next sample. I don't even know why I had a slide for that now. Okay, so this is a Bing map, and it is pulling old data because I didn't want to run something that was too live for fear of death. But if we run it, it's basically on a timer. And the timer is running every 10 seconds. It starts another tweet. There we go. It starts another tweet, and it looks at the tweet, and it says, OK, here's what the tweet is. Gives you enough time to read it, I hope. If it's not enough time, well, that's too bad. You'll just have to read all the short tweets. Now, you may see yourself here and ask, I'm not in Duanweg, Kansas. I don't even know where that is. And that's because no one here is, well, about 1% of the people here are geotagged. And if you do a search on Twitter, that's the only way you can find people. So you have been assigned, if you are up here, a random selection from across the United States based on zip code data. Congratulations. We can unautomate it. We can zoom out, and we can read the tweets that we've missed. Hey, that's me. And then we can automate it again. And the next tweet that comes up will automatically come in and zoom and show it. And it'll do this for pretty much forever. So let's close that down. Do you want me to keep this up? I mean, we could talk about how to make it, or we could just keep it up. No. Let's close this down and take a look at how we did that. OK. Actually, I have this even better on the slides. And these slides will be helpful. OK, first, download and install the Bing Maps Silverlight Control SDK, microsoft.com/maps/isdk/silverlight, and add the following namespace to your XAML. XML namespace, I use Bing because it's helpful. Add that namespace. Then go and just drop a Bing :map and give it your credentials and give it a center point, latitude, longitude. It is literally that easy. It is amazing to use. Kudos to the Bing team for that. Once you have your Bing Maps in there, you're going to want to add a map item control to it. Just drop the item control in there, bind it to some kind of source, and then you just have to make sure that your data template has a Bing map layer.position, and that it's binding to some sort of location data. Bing has a special data type called location. It's basically just latitude and longitude. Just bind to it, and it'll show up, and it'll do everything that we saw there. Staying in the same place and scrolling and so on and so forth. If you want to get really fancy, you could change the size of the item that you have so that you can change the size of the item you have so that it responds to the Bing map zoom. That way, as you zoom out, you can make it smaller, so on and so forth. OK, animating everything. Animating a Bing zoom position and zoom is super easy. So easy, I'm not going to code it because I don't want to break things. But you basically just grab your map, say map.center, give it a new location. It will animate there. That is the default behavior. If you want to animate a zoom level, same thing. Just zoom level, animate. You can turn animation off if you want, but why would you want to? And now, what I ended up doing is I animated the bound source. I'm running two parallel. Whoa, that sounds way different over there. I'm running two parallel observable collections. One loads all the data, so I don't have to go back and get one tweet every single time. And then I run a timer, and every 10 seconds, I take stuff from the first observable collection, and I shove it over the second observable collection so that it animates in to the Bing Maps. The reason I do that is because if I didn't do that, we would load up the application, and we'd be deluged with all this information, and it would be overwhelming. And if we didn't really love it, we would just kind of be like, oh, tweets, and walk away. By putting them down one at a time, we can get to this point and bigger, and the user feels comfortable with the visualization because they've watched it grow. They know, oh yeah, there was that tweet over here, and there was this tweet over here. And so this is my way of trying to communicate that when we're doing visualizations, we got to keep in mind that the user's okay with lots of data. They're just not okay with being attacked by data. So we're going to animate. We're going to talk about animating the items in. You notice that when the items came in the visualization, they showed up, they popped out, some stuff happened, and then it went back. Okay. Let me remember how to do this. Okay. So this is actually insanely easy. Just go to your map items control, right-click, and go to the items template. And we have the one that we've built, but we're going to rebuild. We're going to build a new one. So let's just call it new. That's just new map template. Okay. And the first thing we're going to remember is that we wanted that position information. Being map layer, position, binding. I think I called it position. I did. Okay. So now that's all we need to put it on the map, and we can start building our little item inside of here. One of the things we need to keep in mind is that it's going to position everything by the top left corner. So what I end up doing is just going in here, making it like 300 by 300, and then just giving it some negative margins. That way the center of my object is always going to be the position on the Bing map. Okay, so we got, I don't know what that is. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is, because I have, if you watch carefully, the person's icon was on top of a circle. And the circle expanded out, and the icon just kind of hovered on top of that. We're just going to use the properties of a grid to do that. We're going to put the circle in the center of the grid in an auto, and then we're going to make the height half on top, half on bottom. That way, the circle is always in the center. So grab our little circle, draw it in there, and then let's make it start it out at 15 by 15. Okay, and we'll throw a button that we'll use for the. Let's zoom in a little bit there. We're going to use this button to hold the image of the icon of the person that we're going to put in place. So we'll just put that on the bottom and give it a standard. Let's give it 75 because we're being big and bold today. All right, now this is I can't get excited enough about this. We want this to animate in on the load. So we'll create our animation, load animation. And let's say we want it to animate in. The trick is because the Bing Maps is moving from one position to another, we're probably going to miss most of the opening animation unless we delay it a little bit. So we can either do that by telling the animation to begin at a certain time, or we can just kind of hard code it all in. Oh, no, that's not what I'm doing. There we go. So now it just won't move until it gets to half a second, and we'll give it a full second to expand. That's kind of a lot, but make sure we have. By the way, if you don't use easing functions and you use blend, you are missing out. It's like the greatest thing that's ever happened to animation. And we'll keep it big for a couple of seconds. And then we'll animate it back down. We can play our animation, and it looks like this. Whoa, hi there. Down I go. I'm just going to add another easing function to that. Save. And now we're going to play it with a behavior. Control storyboard. Drop it onto the grid. Say, I want you to play when you load. load animation, save, and let's go ahead and run that just to see. Just all. I'm just going to close this down. It's going to keep doing that. Yes, yes, you are doing that, aren't you? Go, 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 go. So, Bing map, animation in, animation out, and in 5 more seconds, I'm going to slow down on that timer after we get out of this. We should see another one. Animation in, animation out. So let's go ahead and add the person's icon to our button. I don't know what just happened. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. There. Okay. And then we'll just bind the source to another source that I have lying around here. There we go. It did not like that. No, no, no. Oh, right. Yeah, sometimes it's helpful to read the error information. So now we should have a project that actually runs, and we'll dynamically download the Twitter information, or the avatar of people who are tweeting. So if you're tweeting like a mad person to come up here, you may find yourself in Alaska. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, give me a second. I'm going to slow down that timer, because that's just 10 seconds. Who does that? Let's give it 3 seconds. That'll make it fun. Okie dokie, it looks like we're having a, yeah, there everybody is, but up in the corner. I'll have to change that. But we can turn automation off and just kind of watch it all happen. It's fun. That's going to bug me, so let me just fix that. Ah, there's my problem. Auto. Save. Okay. I guess we could run it again. Should we run it again? I don't know. Anyway, yes. So that is, I guess that's how to do that. And I'm like disturbingly ahead of schedule. This has gone far too well. I guess we could build a Twitter, bind some more of the Twitter data if you guys want. I'm not really entirely sure. I've got after this, I've got a list of books that I can recommend, and that's more or less it. I'm feeling really bad now. I could go back and wander through some stuff. Is there anything anybody wants me to do with this data? Nothing? Nobody? Anybody? I could fill up the circle. We could animate in the flag that you saw earlier. That shouldn't take too long. And that's, again, why I'm using a button for this, is because I can click on the button, I can hook into that property, and do an animation on the the flag that we animate in. So, yeah, I'm kind of freaked out. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. I apologize. I don't know, are there any questions? Does anybody want to ask questions about the demo or how we did anything? No? No one cares? Do people want to walk through the circle stuff? Nobody? Yeah. So there's... I don't like getting caught up. So the question was, is there a reason that Silverlight is better than Flex at doing information visualization? Right? Yeah? Okay, more or less. I don't like getting caught up in the Flex, Silverlight. They're just different technologies. I like Silverlight a lot better because the lists and the observable collections, in terms of getting the data, I think it's a lot easier. I've done a number of visualizations, and for me, I can focus on how am I going to show this data rather than how am I going to get this data. Like getting the data is always the easy part for me. Silverlight's just got a lot of really great tools for doing that kind of thing, serving it up and so on and so forth. I don't use the charting part of the Silverlight toolkit very much. Part of the reason is because I feel like we're in a world where we're overcharted. I'm sorry, the question was, do I use a Silverlight toolkit? I got to remember to do this. The question is, do we use a Silverlight toolkit? And I don't. And that's the reason is when you have when you make things too easy, you get too much of it. And so we have a lot of data, and everybody's like, oh, how do I understand this data? Toss it in a chart. And charts can be great for a lot of stuff. You can see a lot of really interesting things in it. But usually when I talk about information visualization, I talk about kind of an individualized project or something that's, I guess something that's unique enough, draws attention, really kind of catches people. So, yeah. Okay.
I'll just use this one instead. Hi,
okay.
I'm Victor from Avanade. I want you to contradict yourself on one thing. You said that we should always use animations when we're representing data. And my question is, when shouldn't we use animations when representing data?
Okay. You should always, no, you probably shouldn't use animations if you're, I'm running through my mind. Take, for example, like when does an iPhone not use animations to do something? Like when you're typing. That's like the only time it's not animating. And I kind of think that if you do it in the project, even a subtle animation is going to help out a user to just kind of feeling comfortable with the data, so on and so forth. If the animations are distracting, then that's not a good animation.
How about time-sensitive applications, like if we're talking medical software, banking, finance, stuff like that?
Okay. Well, I mean, really, that kind of depends on what we mean by time sensitive. Is moving like a finance chart up, up by a point or two over the course of 1/10 of a second really is that gonna kill them when they're trying to understand? There's no way they can use that extra 1/10 of a second to understand something better. Our brains just don't fire that fast, and so I mean. I would say use your discretion. Hire a designer. That's what you should do. I would say use your discretion if things are if they're getting frustrating for the user. If the user's looking at this and is like, freaking animations, I want to kill them, then you probably should take them out or find a subtler, shorter animation. And by the way, for everybody who does animations, most of the animations that I'm doing here, they're like, half a second shorter, that kind of thing. People are impressed. People tend to be impressed by animations, and then they get very unimpressed very fast. They get very bored by them, and so I usually try to keep my animations to less than half a second. 0.4 seconds, 0.3 seconds. When I'm doing something like control, 0.2, 0.3 is kind of my sweet spot.
Yeah,
so.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the presentation, by the way.
Thank you. I'll just walk through if you guys want to know more, and then I can officially release you. Animate. We've been over that. Okay, if you're the kind of person who wants to figure it out for yourself, and I know you are, here's some good places to go. Edward Tufte is an information visualization god. He is the person to talk about information visualization. He has books. They're expensive. You should buy them anyway. Ben Fry has a book called Visualizing Data. He uses processing.org to do stuff that's very data intensive. It's very cool. His website is benfry.com. I highly recommend his book. It is not technology agnostic, but it still has a lot of good things to say about information visualization. Nathan Yao is a contributing author for Beautiful Data, and he runs the Flowing Data website. He shows his stuff, and it's also a clearinghouse for anything he finds cool. So you'll see posts probably 2 or 3 a day on information visualization. It's all quality stuff. But if you're looking for people who are here at MIX, I recommend talking to Rick Barraza. He's done a lot of stuff with fluid dynamics, writable bitmaps. Writable bitmaps they're kind of gold if you're going for tons and tons of data and you want the most control possible over how your visualization looks. Check out his website. There's lots of good stuff on there. synergysystems.com/blog/page/Rick Barraza. It's a mouthful. Joshua Allen and John Udell, they did Descry, and they talked about information visualization at MIX last year. They're wandering around here somewhere. Descry has a number of information visualizations in Silverlight you can download and just kind of dig through them and see what works and what you want to steal or copy. And because I talk so much about information visualization, Jeff Perry's is here. He writes a book called Foundation Silverlight 3 Animation. XML animation, or XAML animation, as well as code-based animation, it's the best if you just want to be using animations to do, well, pretty much anything. His website is designwithsilverlight.com. And then Beautiful Visualization is coming out in April of 2010. It's an O'Reilly book, part of the Beautiful series. It's a great series. This book is filled with complete geniuses, IBM, so on and so forth, and then some random guy they found off the internet. So, if you're a designer, if you're not a coder, I recommend this book because my chapter on it uses no code. It does an infographic, and it basically says, okay, let's walk through the steps, let's grab the data, let's use Excel to sift our way through it and find the patterns that we think are interesting, and then let's build something, actually build it in Photoshop. This is something you can do even if you're not a code monkey. And then the People Who Are Awesome Club, Jason Alderman for an extra pair of eyes, Joe McBride helped me write the CSV thing, and Claudio Sanchez helped me try to bring some of this offline so that I wouldn't have to worry about connectivity for this presentation. But please fill out an evaluation. Here's my contact info, and I guess that's it. Thank you for coming.